It was a chilly evening, and the city lights outside cast a dim glow into my small apartment. With my roommates away for the weekend, I reveled in the peace of having the space all to myself. Little did I know that solitude would soon transform into a chilling ordeal. As I settled into the couch, the hum of the city below providing a distant soundtrack, I heard a faint knock on the door. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping that seemed almost hesitant. I approached the entrance, wondering who could be calling at this hour. When I swung open the door, there was no one in the hallway. Confused, I peered into the dimly lit corridor, half expecting to see a neighbor or friend playing a prank. But the hallway remained empty, shrouded in an unsettling silence. As I was about to close the door, my gaze fell to the doormat. There, lying innocently, was a photograph. I picked it up, my heart sinking as I realized it was a picture of me, taken just moments ago from inside my living room. The angle suggested it was snapped from a vantage point only someone inside the apartment could have had. Panic set in, my mind racing through possible explanations. Was there an intruder? A hidden camera? The apartment, once a haven, now felt like a trap closing in on me. I cautiously searched every room, peering into closets and behind furniture, but there was no sign of an uninvited presence. A feeling of vulnerability hung in the air as I questioned whether I was truly alone. The city outside seemed to conspire with the shadows, creating an atmosphere that whispered of unseen watchers. As the night wore on, I convinced myself it was a prank or a bizarre coincidence, though a lingering unease clung to the corners of my consciousness. Just as I started to calm my nerves, a realization struck, a detail in the photograph I had overlooked. In the reflection of a mirror, I could see a faint silhouette. Enhancing the image, I gasped as the figure became more defined, an ominous presence that seemed to materialize from the shadows. I felt a chill down my spine as I recognized the figure's twisted grin, a face both unfamiliar and unsettlingly close. It was someone, or something, that had been with me, kept touring my every move. The photograph, now a haunting testament, revealed that the uninvited guest had been lurking within the confines of my supposed sanctuary. A sense of dread washed over me, the apartment's once familiar walls now closing in like the bars of a cage. Every creak, every subtle sound, became a whisper of the unknown. As the night deepened, I locked every door and window, my apartment now a fortress against the unseen intruder. Morning eventually arrived, casting a feeble light into the room. The photograph lay on the table, a chilling reminder of the uninvited guest who had invaded my solitude. The city outside resumed its routine, oblivious to the horrors that unfolded within the walls of my apartment. To this day, the memory lingers, a tale of a night when the boundaries between safety and vulnerability blurred, and the uninvited guest left behind not just a photograph, but a lingering fear that even in the confines of our own homes, we may never truly be alone. One winter evening, my family left for a last-minute outing, leaving me alone in our creaky old house. The wind outside howled, making the silence inside feel thicker, like a suffocating blanket. I decided to spend the night watching TV and enjoying the solitude. As the clock ticked towards midnight, I received a strange call on the landline. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen, and curiosity got the better of me. I hesitated for a moment before answering, hearing only static on the other end. Just as I was about to hang up, a raspy voice pierced through the white noise. It knew things, details about my day, my routine, my thoughts, that sent shivers down my spine. The voice spoke with a sinister familiarity, recounting events that no stranger should have known. Fear settled in as the realization hit me. The caller was watching me. The voice urged me to check the locks on the doors and windows, whispering about the vulnerability of my solitude. With trepidation, I followed its instructions, paranoia gripping me as I secured every possible entry point. The caller continued to narrate my actions, each word more chilling than the last. Then came the revelation that froze the blood in my veins. The call was coming from within the house. Panic surged as I realized the unseen caller wasn't a stranger. It was somewhere in the same space I believed to be my sanctuary. The safety of my home had become a trap. I cautiously moved through the house, phone pressed to my ear, the voice guiding me with eerie accuracy. It knew where I was, predicting my every step. The atmosphere grew heavy with an unseen presence, as I approached the closed door of the basement, a room I rarely ventured into. With bated breath, I opened the door to a darkness that seemed to swallow the feeble light from the hallway. The voice on the phone now spoke with a triumphant tone, revealing the true horror. My stalker was a presence that dwelled within the very walls of my home. The basement, usually mundane, now became a chamber of dread. The voice guided me down the creaking stairs, each step amplifying the beating of my heart. In the cold, dim light, I saw an old rotary phone resting on a dusty table, its cord dangling mysteriously. The voice ceased as I picked up the phone, the line now dead. The room fell into a chilling silence, broken only by the distant sound of the wind outside. The realization dawned that the unseen caller was not a person, but a malevolent force residing within the very infrastructure of my home. Since that night, I've never felt truly alone. The house, once a haven, now conceals the unsettling knowledge that something beyond the tangible world can watch and speak from within. The unseen caller left me with an enduring fear, a fear that the privacy of my solitude can be invaded, not just by human eyes, but by the ominous whispers of the unseen. As the night pressed on, an unshakable feeling of unease settled upon me. My family had left for a distant relative's holiday gathering, leaving me alone with only the company of the howling wind and the unsettling silence that hung in the air like a thick fog. It was when the clock struck midnight that the nightmare began. A soft tap on the window drew my attention, and my heart skipped a beat. I dismissed it as a mere figment of my imagination, a byproduct of the stories I'd heard growing up. But then it came again, more persistent this time, like someone desperately seeking entry. The air turned colder as I approached the window, hesitant to peer outside. What met my gaze was a sight that sent a shockwave of terror through my entire being. A figure, obscured by the darkness, standing motionless on the snow-covered lawn. A pale face, its features barely discernible, stared up at me with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through the glass. Fear rooted me to the spot as the figure began to move, pacing along the perimeter of the house with an unsettling patience. My mind raced with thoughts of calling the police, but a sudden realization paralyzed me. The phone was in the living room, and the figure was now blocking the path. I retreated, my heart pounding, and rushed to barricade myself in the bedroom. The sounds of the intruder's footsteps echoed through the silent house, each step growing louder, closer. I fumbled for my phone, hands trembling as I dialed 911. The voice on the other end offered little comfort as I relayed my nightmarish situation. Minutes dragged on like hours as I cowered in the darkness, the intruder's presence becoming more palpable with every passing second. Then, an ominous silence fell over the house. The footsteps ceased, and an inexplicable dread gripped my soul. That's when I heard it, a whisper, barely audible yet chilling to the core. The voice spoke in hushed tones, uttering my name with an intimacy that made my blood run cold. It knew me, and the realization struck with an unsettling certainty. Unable to resist the morbid curiosity, I cracked open the bedroom door to find the house shrouded in an otherworldly stillness. The intruder was gone, leaving behind only the echoes of that haunting whisper. The police arrived, finding no trace of the mysterious figure. They dismissed it as a potential prank or a vivid imagination fueled by the isolation of the night. But I knew better. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that the intruder's visit was more than a mere encounter with the unknown. The silent night held secrets, and I was left to grapple with the unsettling truth that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that play out in the eerie quiet of our own homes when the world sleeps and darkness creeps in with unseen footsteps. I had the house to myself that night. The ticking clock in the living room echoed louder than usual, emphasizing the silence that hung in the air. With my family away, the solitude felt both comforting and eerie, like an uninvited guest lingering in the corners. As I settled into my room, the glow of the street lamp outside casting a dim hue, I noticed a subtle tapping on my window. My initial thought was the rhythmic dance of a tree branch against the glass, but the tapping persisted with a deliberate cadence that unsettled me. Pulling back the curtain, I met eyes with a face, an identical replica of my own, staring back with an expression devoid of emotion. The horror set in not because there was someone outside, but because that someone wore my face, as if a distorted mirror reflected my very being. I stumbled back, heart pounding, and yet the face remained, unmoving and inscrutable. Panic wrapped its icy fingers around my throat as I fumbled for courage to confront the doppelganger outside. My breath hitched as I cautiously approached the window, the tapping now replaced by an eerie silence. The chilling reality revealed itself when the face outside mirrored my every movement, a grotesque mockery of my own existence. As I raised my hand, the doppelganger replicated the gesture, its eyes locked onto mine with an unsettling intensity. Fear turned to terror as I realized that the creature outside wasn't just imitating me, it was imitating my every thought. A sinister realization dawned. It knew my fears, my secrets, my darkest desires. It was a twisted embodiment of my inner self, watching and judging from the other side of the glass. Frantically, I closed the curtains, plunging the room into darkness. The tapping resumed, more insistent now, echoing the rhythm of my racing heart. I could feel its presence lingering just beyond the thin veil, a distorted reflection of my own soul. With each passing moment, the tapping intensified, a relentless reminder that the doppelganger sought entrance into my world. I could hear its voice in the whispers of the wind, taunting me with the knowledge that it was always there, watching from the shadows. Morning eventually arrived, dispelling the haunting darkness that had gripped the night. Reluctantly, I opened the curtains, half expecting to see the face still pressed against the window. But the doppelganger was gone, leaving behind only the residue of an indelible nightmare. To this day, the tapping lingers in the recesses of my mind, a phantom echo of the night I was not truly alone. The face outside my window was not a stranger. It was a manifestation of the horrors that can emerge when solitude invites the darkest parts of ourselves to peer back at us from the other side.